1971. The Pierre Berton Show. The interviewer asks Bruce Lee, "During a fight, what are you thinking? How do you choose your techniques?" Bruce answers, "I'm not thinking anything." The interviewer is shocked. "Nothing? That's impossible. The brain always thinks." Bruce smiles and explains, "No, I stopped thinking. Thinking slows reaction. If my opponent throws a punch and I think, which technique should I use to defend? The punch has already hit my face. So I don't think. I just feel and move." The interviewer, "But how do you do this? The brain automatically thinks." Bruce, "The Japanese call it Mushin, no mind. The mind is empty but alert. Be like water. Water doesn't think, but it overcomes every obstacle. Thought paralyzes. Instinct liberates." The interviewer still doesn't understand. In 1971, this concept was foreign to the West, one of Zen Buddhism's deepest teachings. For centuries, Japanese samurai and Chinese masters kept it secret. Bruce was explaining it for the first time on television to millions of people. But he wasn't just explaining, he was demonstrating. Bruce stands up and signals the interviewer to attack him. The interviewer slowly reaches toward him. Bruce doesn't even move. Then the interviewer reaches quickly. Bruce defends instantly without thinking, with perfect timing. "You see," Bruce says, "I didn't think. If I had thought, I would have been too late. But when I stopped thinking, my body knew what to do." In 1971, this was just an interesting performance. In 2024, it's a proven reality by modern neuroscience. Conscious thought slows down. Subconscious reflex speeds up. Bruce Lee knew this in the 1960s. Science proved it 50 years later. Today, the world's best athletes, artists, and leaders use the same principle. Don't think, feel. Let's understand where this came from. Mushin isn't something Bruce invented. It's an ancient concept from Zen Buddhism, developed over centuries in Japan and China. Samurai warriors needed it to survive in sword combat. When facing an opponent with a katana, thinking meant death. The time it took to process, "He's attacking from the left, I should parry this way," was enough time to lose your head. Literally. So samurai trained differently. They practiced the same movements thousands of times until the movements became part of their nervous system, not in their conscious mind, but deeper. In what modern neuroscience calls muscle memory. But what Zen masters understood is something more profound, the body's intelligence. Mushin translates to no mind, but it doesn't mean unconsciousness. It means mind without attachment to thought. The mind is present, aware, alert, but not caught in the process of thinking, like a mirror that reflects everything but holds on to nothing. A thought comes, the mind sees it. The thought passes, the mind remains clear. Bruce discovered this philosophy through his Wing Chun training in Hong Kong, but he truly understood it after a pivotal moment in 1964. That year, Bruce fought Wong Jack Man, a traditional kung fu master who challenged him for teaching non-Chinese students. Bruce won the fight, but it took longer than he expected. He was exhausted afterward, disappointed in his performance. After the fight, Bruce analyzed what went wrong. He realized he was thinking too much during the fight. Should I use Wing Chun? Should I use boxing? How do I close the distance? These thoughts, though they lasted only milliseconds, slowed him down, made him hesitate, made him someone other than himself. This realization changed everything. Bruce understood that he had been collecting techniques like tools in a toolbox, but during a real fight, he was wasting time choosing which tool to use. The solution wasn't to have more techniques, it was to transcend technique entirely, to reach a state where the body responds without the conscious mind interfering. He began studying Zen Buddhism more deeply, reading texts by D.T. Suzuki, Alan Watts, Krishnamurti. He realized that Mushin wasn't just for fighting, It was for living. Every action in life suffers when the conscious mind overthinks it. The basketball player who thinks about his shooting form during the free throw misses. The pianist who thinks about finger placement during the concert makes mistakes. The speaker who thinks about what to say next during conversation loses authenticity. Modern neuroscience explains why. The conscious mind processes information at about 40 bits per second. The subconscious processes at 11 million bits per second. That's 275,000 times faster. When you're thinking consciously, you're using the slow system. When you're in the flow state, when you've achieved Mushin, you're accessing the fast system. Bruce explained this to his students using simple demonstrations. He would have a student prepare to catch a ball. "Ready?" he'd ask. The student would nod, prepared, thinking. Bruce would throw. Often the student would drop it. Then Bruce would throw without warning. The student would catch it reflexively. "You see," Bruce would say, "when you were thinking ready, you were slower. When you didn't think, your body just responded." In his 1971 Pierre Berton interview, Bruce demonstrated this principle beautifully. After explaining Mushin, he told the interviewer, "It's like a finger pointing to the moon. Don't concentrate on the finger, or you'll miss all that heavenly glory." The finger represents conscious thought, analysis, technique. The moon represents the direct experience, the truth, the moment itself. Most people spend their lives staring at the finger, analyzing, planning, thinking about thinking. They miss the moon. They miss life itself because they're too busy thinking about how to live it. Bruce's teaching was revolutionary. Stop looking at the finger. Stop analyzing the technique. Just experience the moment directly. But how do you reach Mushin? Bruce's answer was clear. Practice until you can forget. He would tell students, "I fear not the man who has practiced 10,000 kicks once, but I fear the man who has practiced one kick 10,000 times." The repetition isn't to perfect the technique. It's to internalize it so deeply that thinking becomes unnecessary. Think of learning to drive a car. At first, every action requires conscious thought. Press the clutch, shift the gear, release the clutch while pressing the gas, check the mirror, signal, turn. It's overwhelming. But after months of practice, you drive without thinking. Your conscious mind can have a conversation, listen to music, solve problems, while your body drives the car perfectly. That's Mushin applied to driving. Bruce applied this to everything. In fighting, he trained movements until they became reflexive. In teaching, he spoke from intuition rather than prepared lessons. In life, he made decisions from gut feeling rather than endless analysis. He understood that the conscious mind is useful for learning but becomes a limitation during performance. The Zen masters have a saying, "In the beginner's mind, there are many possibilities. In the expert's mind, there are few." This seems backwards. Shouldn't experts have more options? But the Zen teaching points to something deeper. The beginner thinks about many possibilities because they're still in their conscious mind, still analyzing. The expert has transcended thought. They don't consider options. They simply respond appropriately to each moment. Bruce demonstrated this in his fighting style. Watch his films carefully. In Enter the Dragon, during the fight scenes, Bruce's movements flow without pause. No hesitation between techniques. One movement flows into the next like water. That's Mushin. His conscious mind isn't selecting the next move. His body is responding directly to the opponent's energy. Compare this to many martial artists who pause between techniques. You can see them thinking, choosing the next move. That pause, that moment of thought, is vulnerability. Bruce eliminated it. His senior student Dan Inosanto described sparring with Bruce. You couldn't anticipate him. He didn't telegraph intentions because he had no intentions. He simply responded to whatever you did, instantly. This is the paradox of Mushin. It sounds like you're not in control, like you're just reacting blindly. But it's actually the highest form of control. Your conscious mind, which is slow and limited, isn't interfering. Your entire nervous system, which is fast and sophisticated, is engaged. You're more present, more aware, more responsive than ever. You're just not thinking. Modern athletes call this the zone, or flow state. Psychologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi studied it extensively. He found that peak performance in any field occurs when people transcend conscious thought. Musicians lose themselves in the music. Athletes perform beyond their normal capabilities. Artists create their best work, all by stopping thinking and just being. Bruce understood this intuitively decades before the scientific research. He told students, "When there is freedom from mechanical conditioning, there is simplicity. Life is a relationship to the whole. Don't think. Feel." This wasn't mystical nonsense. It was practical wisdom based on deep understanding of how the mind and body work together. The challenge is that modern culture trains us to think constantly. Education rewards analysis. Business demands planning. Society values intelligence, which we define as thinking ability. We're taught that more thinking equals better results. Bruce's teaching challenges this fundamentally. Sometimes less thinking equals better results. Sometimes no thinking equals best results. But here's what's crucial. Mushin isn't about being thoughtless or careless. It's about training so thoroughly that conscious thought becomes unnecessary during performance. A surgeon practices procedures thousands of times in training. During actual surgery, their hands move with precision that conscious thought could never achieve. That's Mushin in medicine. A jazz musician learns music theory, practices scales for years, but during improvisation, they don't think about theory. They just play. The music flows from somewhere deeper than conscious thought. That's Mushin in art. An entrepreneur makes countless small decisions daily. The best ones come from intuition, from pattern recognition happening below conscious awareness. That's Mushin in business. Bruce's final teaching on this was profound. In one of his last interviews before his death in 1973, he said, "Empty your mind. Be formless, shapeless, like water. You put water into a cup, it becomes the cup. You put water into a bottle, it becomes the bottle. You put it in a teapot, it becomes the teapot. Water can flow or it can crash. Be water, my friend." This is Mushin explained perfectly. Water doesn't think about what shape to take. It doesn't analyze the container and plan its approach. It simply adapts instantly to whatever contains it. No thought, just natural response. This is how Bruce wanted people to live, not rigid, not caught in thought patterns, but fluid, adaptive, present. The application extends beyond martial arts. In conversation, when you're thinking about what to say next, you're not truly listening. You're in your head, not in the moment. But when you achieve Mushin in dialogue, you listen completely and respond authentically without planning. The conversation flows naturally. In relationships, when you're analyzing whether to trust someone, you've already broken presence. But when you feel the moment and respond from that feeling, relationships deepen. In decision-making, we often get paralyzed by analysis. We make pro and con lists, we think and rethink, we second-guess ourselves. Sometimes this analysis helps, but often our first instinct, our gut feeling, was correct. That gut feeling is Mushin. It's your entire nervous system, your accumulated experience, your subconscious wisdom speaking. It's faster and often more accurate than conscious thought. Bruce's teaching challenges us to trust ourselves more deeply. Not the surface level of conscious thought, but the deeper level of intuitive knowing. To reach this, we must train. Practice your craft until it's natural. Study your field until patterns become intuitive. Then, in the moment of performance, let go of thinking. Trust the training. Be water. 50 years after Bruce's death, his teaching on Mushin remains revolutionary. In a world increasingly dominated by analysis, algorithms, and overthinking, Bruce points to something timeless: the power of direct experience, unmediated by thought. The samurai knew it. The Zen masters taught it. Bruce demonstrated it. Modern science confirms it. And now the question is, will you practice it? The path to Mushin isn't mystical, it's practical. Train hard. Practice until movements become natural. Then, in the moment that matters, don't think, feel, don't analyze, act. Don't prepare what to say. Listen and respond. Be like water. Be Mushin. Be no mind. Because in the space where thinking stops, true mastery begins. That's Bruce Lee's timeless wisdom. That's the ancient teaching he made modern. That's the secret he revealed to the world.